Vegan recipes with Pat and Emily.
Today on It's Vegan, I'm going to show you how to make one of my favorite granolas. And it is a recipe that you can alter. You can add different nuts, different dried fruits, and you will find that your family loves it. For the next couple of weeks, Emily and I are going to show you videos for foods that we are going to take camping, but I should say glamping. So here we go. To start the granola, I'm using a large oven-proof skillet. So you could use cast iron if you would like that. And I am putting in coconut oil. You could use vegan margarine, or you could use olive oil if you would like. This is peach jam. It's homemade and it's a low sugar recipe. And this is the brown sugar. I'm going to get all of that melted nicely together, and then I will be adding the oats. In this version, I'm adding cinnamon, and I want to get that cinnamon mixed in with the liquid. This recipe is very versatile. You can add other things or take things out. Okay, almost all the coconut oil is melted. I'm waiting till it's fully melted. And this is the oats. So it's time to keep coating it. Now, even though I'm adding nuts later and I'll be adding some coconut and dried fruit, I bake the granola first and I add that after it's baked. If you put all of that stuff in too early, you're going to end up with further dried out raisins. It'll be like little hard stones. You just take your time, get it coated. And the great thing about using an oven-proof skillet is that you're mixing it and baking it all in one, so you're not having as much cleanup. This gets baked at a relatively low temperature. I'm using 325 on my oven, and then I will be stirring it in about 10 minutes. So you can see it's coated. I'm going to spread it out. I'll be back to show you what it looks like in 10 minutes. This is what it looks like at 10 minutes. You do want to give it a stir, and I don't like to stir it briskly because I like little chunks of granola, so I gently stir it around. You can see this part's not toasted yet, and that's basically what you're doing here, is you're toasting it and you're drying out the oats. And the time can vary greatly based on weather. This could be done in another 10 minutes, or it might take even up to 20. Okay, it's been 20 minutes, and you can look around the edges. It's pretty brown. The center, they're pretty dried out. So at this point, I'm about finished cooking it. If you're adding coconut, and this time I am adding coconut, I'm going to put the coconut on top, stir all this gently, because I do want the coconut to toast a little bit. I'm going to give this about 5 minutes to toast that coconut slightly. It's not going to get brown, but it still will add a nice crunch. Okay, the coconut's been in the oven a few minutes, and now I'm going to add the remaining ingredients. In this case, I'm using raisins, dried cherries. You, of course, can use whatever dried fruits that you would like. If you're using apricots, cut them up. I like pecans the best, but you could use any kind of nut. You could use sunflower seeds as well. And I also like to use banana chips. It's a new addition that I've tried recently. So what I do is I break them up just like this. They just snap, and then I gently stir all of these ingredients together. I'm doing this while it's hot so that it becomes more connected to each other. Like I'm breaking out my cherries there that were sticking together. If my raisins were sticking together and in really big clumps, I would break those off too. This helps combine the flavors while it's cooling. There's a banana that needs to be a little bit smaller. I didn't think I would like bananas in it, but somebody suggested it, and I like the little extra crunch it adds. Now, something else I want to show you that I don't always do, but it's pretty cool. I'm adding some chocolate chips. These are vegan, of course, and when you add them when it's hot, and I'm going to try to separate these. When you add them hot, they melt and kind of coat the granola a little bit. You'll see in a minute. You can see at the bottom of the pan. And this other granola, I like to pack it down while it's cooling because, again, I like some little clumps in my granola. So just pat it down. We'll get back to that chocolate in a minute to give it a stir and pat it down as well. Can you see that nice chocolate coating on it? It really makes it like a dessert. Now, if you didn't want the chocolate chips to all melt, you would have to cool your granola completely and then add them. I think if you melt them though, you're gonna like the way it tastes. I know my grandkids love it coated in chocolate. Here, I'm patting it down. Now all we have to do is wait till this cools. All right, so I'm going to jar the granola. It's completely cooled. And if you remember, I made half of it chocolate. So I'm gonna try to separate that and jar that and see it makes little clumps. And that's what I try to do, is to have some clumps in my granola. I use canning jars, I recycle jars, and this doesn't need to be refrigerated. That looks to be all of the chocolate. Now I'm going to show you how to jar up the rest. I reuse these jars, so they make great containers for something like granola. You would just fill it up and put the lid on. If you want to leave it on your counter, you could get a pretty jar like this. Just fill it up. And when I put it on the counter, I put a little scoop in there so you can get some out and put it in your hand. We're going camping, so you can make single serve size containers. If you didn't want the weight of the glass, you could always use a plastic Ziploc bag. So yummy. I can taste the cinnamon in it. The nuts, the pecans are great. It's just lightly crunchy. You could bake it longer and make it really crunchy, but like, I don't want to break a tooth, so I make it medium crunchy. A nice chocolatey taste that just holds some of that granola together in little clumps. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe.